Good morning. Thank you, or good afternoon or evening. Thank you for listening to the Good Neighbor podcast. I'm here with Evangeline Byler and Betty Jo Palmer. And today's episode is all about neighboring, just as every episode is with the Good Neighbor podcast. But specifically talking and thinking about how small actions lead to big, beautiful things as you walk and do the same thing, maybe in the same direction slowly, and over again, advocating for justice and truth. And with that in mind, I wanted to start off our episode by reading Luke 18, verses 1 through 8. And the reason why I am reading this is because I really feel like this embodies the heart of this episode, but also just at the very core, in some way, who Betty Jo is and the work that she's been doing in the park, in the neighborhood. This story and parable of Jesus reminds us that our voices, no matter how small, matters, that God does hear and does respond. And so I hope that hearing this parable, hearing this story, and listening to this podcast, you will be able to see that story in a new life, in a new way, to be encouraged to know that small actions can have big impacts. And if you have a little bit of imagination, might we even say prophetic imagination, God can and will transform spaces in our day for the benefit for us, but also for generations to come. And so I'll start off by reading this parable, and then we'll hop in. We'll get to hear who Evangeline is and Betty Jo is. We'll just have a conversation. This is Luke chapter 18, verses 1 through 8. Then Jesus told his disciples a parable to show them that they should always pray and not give up. He said, "In a certain town, there was a judge who neither feared God nor cared what people thought. And there was a widow in that town who kept coming to him with the plea, 'Grant me justice against my adversary.' For some time he refused. But he finally said to himself, 'Even though I do not fear God or care what people think, yet because this widow keeps bothering me, I will see that she gets justice, so that she won't eventually come and attack me.' And the Lord said, 'Listen to what the unjust judge says. And will not God bring about justice for his chosen ones, who cry out to him day and night? Will he keep putting them off? I tell you, he will see that they get justice, and quickly. However, when the Son of Man comes, will he find faith on the earth?'" What a beautiful parable, which I think I really just highlights so well what we've done, what has been done, what God is doing in the Stockyards neighborhood with Betty Jo, with Evangeline, and so many other folks who've been on this project and trying to see the park renewed. And so we're going to have a conversation today with Evangeline and Betty Jo. Welcome to the Good Neighbor podcast.
Thank you.
Welcome to you. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we're excited.
Yeah, let's first start by doing some intros. Who are you? Where are you from? And maybe like one silly thing. I don't know, maybe someone doesn't know about you, but you're excited about.
My name is Betty Jo Palmer. I was born in Washington, D.C. I came to Cleveland, Ohio in the 60s during the Huff riots and the Glenville riots. I came here, I was 13 years old. I went to school, I finished. I went to college, then I went into the military. I did modeling, and I was in a lot of singing groups. I really wanted to talk about the park because I moved over there in 2015, and I used to go and sit in the park, but it was a feeling I got of loneliness, as if the trees was calling out, saying, "Help me, I need to be fulfilled." I mean, if you just sit in the park and you see the trees blowing in the wind, it's as if it's giving you a message. So I thought about it. I went there many times, got on the swings, the slides. I just sit there. Sometimes I would be there all by myself. I said, I got to do something about this. It's all this park all alone. Nobody's here. A few kids would come. They had a couple of swings and slides. They took them out because they was toxic. So they put a ribbon around. So Councilwoman Jasmine Santana for Ward 14 had them to remove them.
Mm-hmm.
So we just got some trees, and 20 trees, I think pine and oak trees. So she said, I have good news. But even before then, I had been talking about the park.
Mm-hmm.
Even meetings that they had, I would go, and you would do videos.
Mm-hmm.
You, DeQuavy, would do a video of a park to show everybody what the park was about. So it was, they had a community meeting, and they had put a flyer in the mailbox about the community meeting. So it was my first time going. It was at Building Hope
Mm-hmm.
in the city. And that was my first time meeting Anthony. So all of us was sitting around. I met him, Ebony, Peggy Cruz, who has the restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
So he asked everybody to introduce themselves and say what they was thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
So I introduced myself and said my vision was about this park over there where I live at. I said, it's a park that's always in the dark, and I see a lot of people walk past with a cart, and they always say they want to be a part.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, that's what I want to do. So I talk to people, knock on doors, because a lot of people in the community, they have a vision and they have a voice.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like people like me, you, DeQuavia, Evangeline, they can help them. We speak for them.
Mm-hmm.
We give them a place. I mean, I see people on the porch. I used to go up on the porch, older people older than me. I'm 72. And I say, hello, how you doing? My name Betty Jo. I live across the street. And it opens them up.
Yeah.
Because before that, they just you pass them and they just be like, I say, you need me to go to the store for you?
Yeah.
I'm going to the store. You want something? I just, get involved. And I think we need a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
We need a lot of that. Because sometimes people be like, I say, hello, how you doing? It's a nice day. They say, I don't see what's nice about it. Then I say, oh, you can make it better.
Mm-hmm.
You just feel that way because you don't have nobody to talk to. They say, you know what, thank you. I'm glad you came and talked to me because I ain't had nobody that really cared like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so that's,
Yeah.
yeah.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Betty Jo,
You're
for
welcome.
the beautiful introduction. Evangeline, who are you? And let's see, maybe what is one thing? I always ask this. This is like one of my favorite questions. You don't have the answer now. That's okay. What is one thing that you like about yourself that maybe that not everyone always notices or appreciates?
Okay, cool. I'm not good on the spot, so
Yeah.
I will do my best to come with an answer. But my name is Evangeline Byler. I'm originally from Uganda, and I moved to the U.S. about 5 years ago to pursue college, bachelor's degree. Anyways, I moved to Cleveland about a year ago now, so I'm pretty new to the neighborhood, but it's been a great experience so far. I go to Cove City Church, which is downtown, and I got connected with Building Hope through some of the projects that they were doing, and I had the privilege of working with Betty Jo last year on Light Up the Park with Rally CLE, and yeah, we've been really good friends
Because
since.
of you.
Yeah.
You told me about
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, like you've really inspired me over this year, and I love your heart, and you really embody what it is to be a good neighbor. So, yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah, what I love about
Yep.
myself, it's hard to like say that. I don't want to be like vain or anything,
Yeah.
but I think I have a way of connecting with people from everywhere, which really helps me with my job because I work with a lot of international students. So it's just people from everywhere, people of different ages, and it's really God's gift to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you sharing and being vulnerable even on the spot.
Yeah.
I asked that question. I asked something before, but then I think my thought got better because of when you were talking, Betty Jo, and you were sharing how you go and just talk with neighbors and just say hi and ask how they're doing, and just the posture of just listening and want to hear about their voice,
Yeah.
how beautiful that is. And I think it's like a scary thing to share who we are, because we're like, is anybody gonna listen? Are they gonna like think I'm gonna be like, I don't know, like there's all these different thoughts that we have. Especially nowadays with more like barriers that we have, like whether it's a cell phone, like little distractions, or like, a lot of houses nowadays don't even have front porches. You're lucky to have like steps. Sometimes it's just a door. And so to have spaces where we can just like, sit like we are and just have conversations is rare. So thank you guys again for joining us today, and being on the podcast to talk about neighboring and what it means to be a good neighbor. And in that vein, you talked a little bit about it, Betty Jo, but I would love to hear more. But why like the park exactly? You could have been doing a lot of different things. Could have been advocating for like so much other stuff. You could have been anywhere and everywhere, but why the park specifically to keep going over and over, day to day, asking about when we're going to get flyers, advocating, going to council meetings, trying to get neighbors like registrations and other like voices heard and things. Why the park?
The park, I'm gonna tell you, it's just a space of land that was there, and when I used to go and sit there, I mean, it's just something that drew me to it. And when I used to go and sit there, and I would be in the park all by myself. I mean, other times I would see kids in there, a couple of kids playing. But when I used to go and sit by myself and take pictures and get up on the top of the slide and just sit up there and watch cars and people
You
walk
sat on
past.
that slide?
Yeah.
Oh, that's brave. That slide was bad. It had like metal, or like the hot metal. You slide down, your skin is probably come off.
I didn't go down. I just went up and was sitting up on top. And I would just see the cars go by and just see people walking past. But I would look over the whole park. I just get just a good look. And it's like, I said, this sitting right here, it's like nobody cares about it. I mean, it just came to me, this needs something in it. And only when I had the events that people could pass, they say, you know what? I never knew this park existed. I didn't even know it was here. But going back to the reason, it's just like God sent a message to me that you need to do work here. This need to be fulfilled because there's so many parks and playgrounds they do makeovers. So what about this? And it's people that live there. The two houses on the end of the street, they've been living there for 30 years.
Wow.
The guy on the end, it was his mother's house, and Miss Helen, she been there for 30 years. They said, they never do nothing to this park. It's just, we live here for a long time. Just like the sidewalk, the tree was pulling it up.
Yeah.
And they said they would come and mark it. My neighbor said they ain't doing nothing about it. I called a councilwoman on it. I said, it's a tree pulling up the root of the sidewalk, and it's on the street, but not far from the park. She said, okay. She said, I'm going to send them out there. She said, video it. If they don't come, let me know. They came, and they took care of it. But the tree was pulling up the root of the tree was pulling up the sidewalk. And the kids went to school, had to walk through there all the time. It was a school zone. And half of the tree was hanging over in the street. So I got that taken care of. So after that, I just moved on down to the park. But, that park, I mean, I wouldn't say park. I say a space of land that has no name and has no lights. And it's always in the dark. So why can't we have lights? Why can't we have a walkway, a green space for seniors to walk? Why can't we have those little, like over there by Rite Aid on Franklin, they got a little library like with books in it.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, they got it where you can go and sit down. It could be chairs there. It could be children and seniors and families. I mean, it's just sitting there like nobody cares about it. And even in the wintertime, the trees, even when the trees, it's like, come, I'm here, help me.
Yeah.
It's like the blowing of the tree. It's like it's calling out for help. I mean, I'm just fascinated about the park.
Yeah.
I always, from the beginning, just sitting there. But I used to walk past it when I moved over there. I said, it's nothing here, nobody's here. And plus, a lot of people, they go over there and they disappear. You don't know where they went to.
Yeah.
It's the trees. You don't know somebody over there. I sit on my porch. I have seen guys. One day I heard a guy hollering over there.
Yeah.
And I told my landlady, I said, there's somebody over there hollering. We could see him like moving in the trees. And he was like, I don't know. I'm not even gonna say if he was on something because I don't know, or if he was going through something. But then after a while, he just came out and was on the sidewalk walking up the street regular.
Yeah.
But before that, he was hollering and screaming,
Yeah.
and we thought something was wrong. And then, in the park, well, you got the groundhogs, you got the albino groundhogs.
I ain't buying no groundhog. I don't know if I seen one of those.
Oh yeah, and I never to my it was in our yard. It was real little. And how do you see? You see the little albino? I said yeah. I said they got a nest around here. And Angel, my neighbor who has chickens, she said, Betty, you don't have to go to the store and buy no eggs. You can get your eggs from me. Because she helped me the first year I had the event in 2021. And
And that was from just knocking on her door and like getting her like connected, like with what you were doing.
But yeah, because I remember when she first moved next door to me, because before she moved in the house, it was a couple in there, and before they was in there was a lady that passed in a wheelchair was in there with her granddaughter and her boyfriend, which got shot, which I seen in action.
Yeah.
In the backyard. I mean,
That's terrible.
Yeah, somebody just
Sorry
jumped
that
the fence
happened.
and ran down. He was cutting the grass, and I was in the living. I ran from there to the kitchen. Then the girlfriend come out the house with the gun. She run down the field, but the guy already done collapsed. And so the MS came and everything. So it's a lot. I seen in that house.
Mm-hmm.
Even in 2017 when I retired, the the place where the people come with their vests on, because they was fighting them. They in our back, I could sit on my porch, and they would take the dogs over to a tree, and there was some hanging from the tree. I guess they was teasing them or something. They would bite on it.
Mm-hmm.
So they had came and raided their house. They had came with the vests, but they wasn't there.
Yeah.
So it was a lot went on, and drugs, different things. They was on meth. Then Angel came and moved in it and fixed it up, and brought it back to life and everything, and started the gardening, and having the chickens, and doing a lot. And the goldfish in the pond, a bunch of goldfish is back there in the pond. So she got a cherry tree back there and an apple tree, because the guy who lived in that house a long time ago, Heidi said he planted all that back there, the cherry trees.
Yeah. And Heidi, is that your neighbor?
I went from her. I've been living I used to work with her, but I live up over her since 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, and so when I retired, after that, she, matter of fact, she ain't been too long, came back from Puerto Rico. She went to visit her grandmother, because she was real sick, but she's doing a lot better. She's in her 80s and stuff.
Yeah, that's good to hear. Yeah, I would love to hear more too. And for those who are listening here, like who exactly is Angel, and like what is the connection with like the first thing that you did? And so for that first year, how did you go from sitting like on a slide to like having these big events, and like the councilwoman like promising and being able to acquire like $300,000 plans for park revitalization. There we go. How did you go from that to there? Like, I know there's a lot of things, but I'm sure, it's not like right away. What was it? Was it like an event, a conversation? Like, how did you get started?
The conversation started. It started with Anthony at that first meeting, but we had to submit like an essay or for a grant.
For Rally Saley?
Right, for a grant, and you had to fill it out, and you had to put what's your vision, what's your project, how do you feel your project would be good, what are your thoughts about your project, what made you want to do this project. So all of that, you had to put that on the paper, and then you would submit it, and then they would, I guess, look over it and get back with you. But I remember when he told me that I was approved for it. I remember my neighbor, Angel. It was 6 houses on my street. Yeah. Nobody wanted to be involved. And I asked Angel, because she had moved on. We always would go past. I would talk to her. She made all the jams and jellies. I said, oh, wow, my aunt used to do that when we was in the country. When we was little, we used to wash out mason jars. So I said, would you be interested in helping me? I'm doing this project for the park. and I don't have nobody to help me. Would you help me? She said, sure, no problem.
Mm-hmm.
And that was how I began.
Yeah.
See, I mean, it was like, it was me and her, you know. We did things. We did the flyers. We did everything. I mean, that first year, she was there. She did the corn. We had got the corn. But the church across the street from me, they do produce. So we used to go over there, and I used to go, and then I would go back. They say, you come back. I said, can I come back again, get more food? They said, yep. So when I would go back, I would get the food, and I would take it to Rhonda, take some to Angel. I said, Angel, they be giving a lot of produce over there and vegetables and stuff. So then Angel would go, then Angel didn't go no more. She was kind of tired of walking over there her life, you know, it was just too much. So I would go. If I go, come back with my card, I put it on Rhonda's porch. She'd be at work because she worked at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Then I go back again. I get some woman, Heidi, come home and say, Heidi, you want some bell peppers? You want some celery? Because, because there's some people couldn't get there, and it was across the street.
Yeah.
And I had a cart. So I said, yeah, I just go back, keep going back. I used to do that on 54th and Store. They would do produce. Popsy would have it. And they have food and stuff. I go down 58th Street, down this street where my brother lived, and I see some people on the side, and the lady and her kids. I said, ma'am, you want some vegetables? And so when I would go back, the lady said, you already came here once. You can't come back no more. Popsy said she could come back many times if she want to.
Yeah.
So I keep going back.
Were you the one who put those vegetables on our porch? I think it was like last month or so.
Probably was. Probably because I was all up and down. Yeah, I was all up and down the
I was
street.
telling Stephanie when I got home, I was like, oh, somebody like dropped off some produce.
Right.
We usually don't like have time to go by, so I
Right.
really appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, and I was telling a lot of people, they had kale, they had cabbage, they had collards, they had turnip, they had mustards. They had a lot of food left over. But Angel, she really helped me out a lot, and we would go to a lot of meetings. We would walk to the councilwoman Jasmine Santana meetings because I remember
that was a far walk. I mean, you guys walking from your house.
We would walk all the way to Fulton.
Yeah, it was like 67
With a
Denison,
Journey
all the way
Church.
to Fulton. I mean, that's like
And it was
at
hard.
least 2 miles.
And Angel, the next year, she said, she said, I don't think she said, because we be going to a lot. She was tired. I mean, just walking.
And she like does a lot of stuff. Like Angel cooks food and stuff.
Right, for the churches.
For the church.
The
for
youth, for the youth, she do that.
She just started doing that, cooking for the meals.
On Coat Road, she be doing it. And matter of fact, she was doing clothes, because she told me if I had some nice clothes, because there was a lot of homeless. People come and they need shoes and socks and different things, toothpaste, different type of things. So that was a good thing. But I remember I told you we did the corn. They had all this corn left over at the church.
Yeah.
And so we went back up there. So Angel said, can we have it? They said, yeah. Because it was big. She took it and shucked it. And my first event, they had the bricks and we was cooking the corn right there.
Yeah,
nice.
yeah, that's awesome.
And she was doing the cucumber pickles with cucumbers in the jar. She had that at the festival. I mean, it was, I mean, people came from everywhere. And people ask me right now, they'll say, if I go in the store, they'll say, when you having another event? Is you having another event? I say, yeah, I had a flyer. It's be older people, older. I'm 72. It be people older than me that be coming.
Yeah.
They be really, because they could just walk right there and it's just
so close.
Sit down on the grass, blanket or whatever, and just relax. Nobody, everybody loving each other, everybody peaceful, no violence. The police don't have to come. It's just fire trucks come, police come, give out fire gas to the kids.
Yeah, because your guys' advocacy and stuff. It's so great to hear like that connection, even with Angel like already doing the things. The only reason she's not helping because she's already like she's doing all the things.
Right,
just so caring
helping,
and so
right.
Yeah, so encouraged to hear not just your story but even Angel's story of just like being present. Because you guys could be doing so many other things, like even some of the stuff we were talking about with Angel's like space and what it used to be like.
Right.
Her being present in that place, getting those chickens, possums and you didn't even say all the other animals she has. She basically has a zoo, like
Right.
her city zoo she has in her yard has transformed that
Remember
space.
that little
Yeah, that was
baby
crazy.
possum? It got huge.
Yeah.
It was in the big cage.
Yeah.
It got big. Oh man.
Yeah, she was carrying it with her on her head and
Right.
stuff.
She'd go to the fair. She'd have her hair up, and it was a baby, and it'd be sitting, and she'd go all the way to the fair and come back, and
my
it'd still be there.
I need to see this.
And it got along with all the cats.
Yeah, so crazy.
All in the house, everything.
Yeah, so crazy.
And the
so,
what's the names? They would come literally on her porch to her table, and they would just sit there what was it she told me? No, not the skunks, but it's a family of them. We see them, it's like a bunch of them.
Yeah.
They hang
Did
together.
she have raccoons? I don't
Yeah,
know.
they come and sit at the
Yeah,
table.
a big old city
They
zoo.
sit and get something to eat and go back
Big
out
old
like
city
it's
zoo.
regular, like
Yeah.
the mother, the father,
It's
the
a
kids.
drive-through right through her
place to
window.
be.
She just opened it. And so she transformed that space
Yeah.
that was like a place of really violence against animals you're talking about
Right.
to a place like of peace, just being present.
Yeah.
So I love.
She got rescued. She had rescue cats,
Mhm.
and then she got a tree where she used to do the sap from the tree.
Yes.
She rescued a lot of animals and take care of them and stuff.
Yeah.
She really, and they. I mean, it's like just like my neighbor Rhonda. She got 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, she got Mousy, she got Muffin, she got Midnight, she got Princess, she got, and my neighbor, Angel got hers on this side. My neighbor Rhonda got 7, but it might be more than that because we've been seeing some babies lately.
Yeah.
But I know Angel's cats because Angel got the collar, the white collar around the neck so we know when they all come over to Rhonda's though.
Yeah.
And so it's like Rhonda's cats, they wait till she come home from work. They be out there waiting because when she come home, she have all them different color bowls.
Yeah.
And she put the food. They be in the house, and if you sit on the couch with Rhonda sitting on the couch, if you sit on the couch with Rhonda, tell me the cat one don't jump behind her, one don't jump on this side, one jump in between. If you sitting there, they'll jump in between.
Wow.
It's like they be protecting her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if one run across the street on our street, she be hollering because she be scared it's gonna get hit by a car. Because they usually run over to the church and over in the truck, and
Yeah. Yeah.
so but they sleep with her and everything.
Yeah.
She said one of them, she always have the clock set to the alarm, and she was asleep, and so she just she just went back to sleep. Why the cat scratched her? He got mad because she got to set on alarm that
Yeah.
she
And
get
this
up.
is Rhonda, the neighbor.
My
next
neighbor?
to her. Mhm.
She's on the right, and Angel on the left. Yeah, because I got public power. Angel got illuminate company, and Rhonda got illuminate company. So when my lights go out, they'll still be on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think that's a beautiful connection. And thank you, Betty Jo, for sharing just how much Angel was involved with her. We might have to get Angel's side of the story one of these days.
Right.
And thank you, Angel, for your story and for what you've done. We'll love to hear it from you as well. Hopefully we can get you on the episode one of these days. But just the thought and the idea of you, Angel, just transforming that space that was once a place for violence against animals and just the violence that happened before to really just this hidden garden where you have all these animals drive-through window style coming to you for food is so beautiful. And just being present. And there's so much stuff even like you shared, Betty Jo, that's happening all around you guys that is no surprise that it is difficult for neighbors to be hey, I can do this, but to do it and to be present. Thank you for your faithfulness and making those connections.
You're welcome.
One thing I do, speaking of connections, one of just talk about in here, because you shared how, you did the grant, you applied for it, talked with Anthony because you had heard about it. You found Angel to help. I think it's cool, and it's a story worth sharing of just divine appointments of God moving and creating spaces of sharing how we got to meet and to get to connect us together. And then after that, I would love to hear through the process and stuff, your connection. How did you get connected, Evangeline, and help to keep this momentum going Because I actually got to meet Betty Joe before I even knew that she was doing this project and like things. And so Anthony was like, "Hey, have you met this neighbor, Betty Joe?" I said, "Betty Joe? You mean that woman that lives down the street, the pigtails, like Stephanie's? Stephanie's my wife." And she's like, "What? How do you know Betty Joe?" And so, Betty Joe, can you share how like do we meet? And we're talking like like a whole month and a half
Right.
before. Like, how did that happen?
Well, the way it happened, we was on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
And I met DeQuavia, you, and his wife Stephanie. We just met and started saying hi, hello, how you doing? Just sitting, just regular.
Yeah.
And we was talking about different things that we was doing, and I was talking about that I got a project that I'm doing, and they was telling me about what they was doing, and then after that we said, well, it was nice meeting you.
Yeah.
And then it's ironic. It's like the guys work, cause
Yeah.
when Anthony was saying, that DeQuavia, and they know you.
Yeah.
It's like it was destiny, like it was meant to be.
Mm-hmm.
It was meant for me to run into you and your
Yeah.
wife, and then Anthony. So it all came full circle.
Yes. So beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's-
Because from Stephanie and I, end of the just like the interaction, we like. I mean, we don't usually ride the RTA because we like have like 2 cars at that time, and be giving my car to a neighbor, so we have 1 car now. But we had 2 cars at the time, but there was a free day for the RTA because they had changed all the bus routes.
Right.
And I was like, oh dang, that sucks because a lot of people like used to the routines and stuff. Like it's gonna be difficult. But I said, but it's free like for this whole day, so we get to like ride the RTA. We haven't ridden a train before and all the things. So we were like, okay. There's a bus stop literally right outside of our house because we were living on Store at the time between 56th and 58th at one of Building Hope's homes. And we got on a bus and we ended up running into Betty Joe. And we're just like, wow, this lady is so nice.
Right.
Like we had a really good long conversation because the bus routes, because they changed, it just took longer for them to come and things like that.
Yeah.
So we got to chat for a long time, riding
We
the
just
bus to
started a
downtown.
conversation.
Yeah.
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 I was sitting here and he was there and she was, and it just meant to happen.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and I was so sad too. I was like, man, I should have gotten her number. I should have
Right.
I remember where you said that you live, but like I was like, I don't want to just start knocking on a
Right.
bunch of random doors. There's not a lot of houses on your street, but I was just like, am I gonna run into her? Now I know where your house is.
Right.
Like I probably would have knocked on the wrong person's door.
But it just shows you that fate, because
Mm-hmm.
even though you didn't get my number and nothing like that, and we just said, well, it was nice talking to you, but then it came full circle.
Yeah. So praise God for those
That was the
interactions.
link.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. How did you, Evangeline, get connected like with Betty Joe? And like your connection with Betty Joe, but also like just with this like whole process, because Betty Joe shared about Angel and like this idea in the grant, but like where's your like story in this?
Yeah. So when I decided to be the site coordinator for my church for Rally CLE with Building Hope, we had a dinner before, and I remember we sat next to each other, and she was sharing her vision for what Light Up the Park was going to look like, and I was just so impressed. Like, she's so jolly. She remembers every single detail, right?
Right.
And it was just really cool to hear her passion and love for her neighborhood and that park. So, yeah, we got to work together for that day, Rally CLE. It was awesome. Lots of people came over. Everyone knew who she was, hostess with the most.
But you was the one, DeQuay, because
Yeah.
you was the one. That's how, when you told me, you said, Evangeline going to be working with you.
Mm-hmm.
And she had all her friends from the church, volunteers and everything. And I mean, that was,
Yeah.
because I remember those 9 events, and you had 3 events. Somebody else had 3. Somebody else had 3. So that Evangeline had to be the head.
Yeah.
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 And she had it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For the second year, because the
Right.
first year of the park things. At that point, I wasn't employed by Building Hope, so
Right.
I was still like doing things with our church. I was employed by our church at the time.
It was
and
big too.
was a site coordinator there, and then so the second year is when you guys connected,
Right.
and like now this will be the third year of the park things, but the
Right.
second year for you,
Yes.
Evangeline, advocating alongside Betty Jo. I would love to hear from your perspective, Evangeline, like how does that look like for you, like in your everyday? Because I know Rally CLE is like a one-day event,
Yes.
but obviously your relationship with Betty Jo has extended past Rally CLE.
Yeah.
What does that look like for you advocating for this park? Because like you guys are not like in a neighborhood necessarily like
Yeah.
other park, but you're still advocating for it. You're still doing it again as a second year as a site coordinator.
Yeah.
What is that like for you?
Yeah, I would say the biggest advocacy I have done in that sense is just Rally CLE being there that day, bringing awareness to the park. But the biggest thing I can do and my church folk can do is just champion Betty Jo and support her in her vision. Like whether it's she calls me, we call and chat for like hours,
Right.
and just hearing what's going on in her life, supporting her and reminding her, which she already knows, but she's a great person making so much change. So I think that's the biggest thing I've been able to do, and she's doing all the work with calling Jasmine Santana
Right.
and all the things. But yeah.
For you personally, like as you're trying to make the connections with your church, I'm curious to like how have you tried to create bridges for them? Because obviously a lot of the people in your church wouldn't have as many opportunities to like always get to come in the neighborhood, maybe because maybe they don't live there, or like for them, like they've only been able to participate on the day.
Right.
But you've been having this relationship with Betty Jo. You've been like around, you've seen the park, you've been in the neighborhood. How do you create bridges for like people who, in one sense, are outsiders who
Yeah.
care a lot to like come in and like be in this space, to
Yeah.
not come in like with, we got all the answers.
Yeah.
But like, what are you saying? What are the conversations that are happening to like create those bridges?
Yeah. I think Building Hope has been a really good bridge for us in that sense. There's so many resources that Building Hope has. Like, I know we've been starting to do prayer walks in our neighborhood. We invited people for prayer walk in this neighborhood too, just to get a sense of it, just so it's not just like a one-day thing. Building Hope also does a Christian community development course 101, and Patricia does such a great job with just laying out how the city looks like, how we are just co-laborers, not just coming in that one day, but we're standing alongside Betty Jo. So yeah, there's lots of resources. It's not the easiest thing to do when you're not present in the neighborhood, but those are just a couple of ways that we're trying.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. I think that's very helpful for people who are listening, or just people who have like just a desire to do the work in hard places, to be a good neighbor, but maybe not necessarily like know how to come in to start. It's hard. They don't want to be like somebody's coming in with a savior mentality of like, let me come in and do the things and they unintentionally hurt someone. They want to like do good things and be a good neighbor, but just don't know where to start. Whether that's for themselves in their own neighborhood, or like serving at a place in need. Yeah. Where you have something boiling, Betty Jo.
Yep, I was saying that it's really too important that we support others, like because it was 9 events last year. This time it's 13. So like Ebony Joyner, Peggy Cruz, they have different events, but I was thinking that it's good that I go to other events, not just the one I have, but just I can communicate with them too, you know, and see how they doing and what's going on in their lives, you know, because and also the violin and the cello player.
Yeah, Renovare.
Yes, I was gonna say
they did. I mean, at Cove Church, we had a program, and they just had another program that I was under the weather, I couldn't make. But they actually, right here in the recording room, they did me did my vision, my song about the park. I usually sing, but I didn't do it that day, and I let they sung, and so I gave them the whole outline of my vision. So they did it, and I'm like, Ebony, she sung hers but yes, they is really fun. And then they came to my event, and they played,
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, Renovari is also, like you said, they performed at our church, and they, I think it was Songs of the Neighborhood, and so Betty Jo's story was highlighted in that too. And I think a couple of our congregation got to come and listen to your story and see your heart.
And Ebony's,
in that too.
she did hers live. She got up there, But it's just different things that be going on, and that's a good thing to support others, not just my event, but to support others, because we all together. We're all in it together, and it's all these events. So just helping others is a very important thing, you know. I don't forget. You never forget where you come from.
Yeah.
And, you got to help others. That's the way it is. As it say, do unto others that you would have them to do unto you. Honor your mother and father, and your days will be long. Love your neighbors.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to wrap up our conversation and our time here. There's so much that we can share, that we can say, but I want to be mindful of you guys' time. But thank you so much for joining us and having a conversation and just really just talking through and this idea of just like these small impacts and these small actions having big impacts, and just the value of like the power of voice and prophetic imagination, with Angel, who coming into space, literally transforming the literal environment of that home from being a place of like violence and destruction to a place of like I almost said Mary Poppins, but whatever that like Disney character person, Snow White, is that it, with all the animals and stuff?
Yes.
Snow White, just like this beautiful, just fairy tale, just like space, little like Garden Eden, like literally where her house is, because in the back of it there's these fruit trees and things where she has these animals. And just your advocacy, Betty Jo, in the neighborhood, just your persistence over and over and over again. Thank you for just being a champion of the people. Thank you, Building Hope, and the many churches, your church, Cove City, and other places, helping to platform and uplift the voices, but especially to God, who's the first hearer and the first responder to these things, and making this happen in such a big way. Thank you guys so much. There's so many lessons to be learned, so many things we could pull out from this conversation and many conversations. So thank you so much for joining us and being here for this episode.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, this a live podcast. This is my first time. I always see it, but to be in it, that's nice.
It was fun. I love chatting with you guys. This is good. Very special moment for sure.
Yeah, definitely.